Welcome to Tea Time, the podcast. I am Cassie Marina, fondly known as the Branding Queen, and I am a digital branding expert helping businesses get online and thrive doing so. I am passionate about sharing my knowledge through content creation like this podcast, online classes, and workshops, as well as through the services of my branding agency to help you develop your online systems. Think of this podcast as the place to get the latest advice, strategies, tips, news, and inspiration on building your brand online using the tools available to us, but most importantly, thought-provoking content to improve your mindset, to maximize on these tools and put context to day-to-day developments in the online world of business with a little bit of tea dishing facts and sass, because I really want you to thrive online. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's begin. Oh my gosh, a new podcast episode is out. I literally have been trying to record a podcast for the entire month of July. Like, it's not that I forgot the podcast, abandoned the podcast, or was intentionally neglecting it, but I just didn't have this space to record without interruption, without outside noise, etc., etc. So, when you don't have the comforts and the luxuries of your home office, when you're running your business while traveling, while on the go, you kind of just have to be very flexible and roll with it. So I didn't beat myself up. Like, usually I'm the personality type that beats herself up when she doesn't get stuff done. And when I say get stuff done, I mean like I set out to do this, and I am basically the personality type that's super hard on herself. And I'm learning to find a balance, because I believe it is important for us to hold ourselves accountable like nobody else can, no matter what accountability group you are in. At the end of the day, we should be striving and cultivating our character to hold ourselves self accountable. Because at the end of the day, we need to keep our promises to ourselves and hold ourselves to our own integrity. Like, we should be able to do the things that we say that we would do, or we promised that we would do, whether it's to other people, to ourselves, without feeling like somebody's watching us to get it done. All right, so I'm going to get off a little bit of my soapbox there, but that is just me explaining why, like, I'm kind of proud that I didn't like beat myself up, but I recognize and understand the importance of holding myself accountable. And while I hold myself accountable, we should also give ourselves compassion and be flexible with life. And it's a very thin line to balance, because we want to give ourselves compassion, but yet not too much compassion where we are being irresponsible and lazy and making excuses. Like, only you will know when you're striking that right balance, and be honest with yourself. So that was an unintentional lesson right there, which is find a balance between having integrity and holding yourself accountable to the things that you say that you're going to do, and doing the work that's going to get you to where you'd like to be. And then also having compassion. Like, don't beat yourself up, because that's also unproductive. Like, when we get into this space of oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, it actually puts yourself in a place of paralysis, where you end up doing nothing, because you're so busy beating yourself up and telling yourselves all these negative things, like, oh, you're this, you're that, you just can't seem to get it right. Like, that's not empowering. So we should also empower ourselves with the things that we tell ourselves, because at the end of the day, nobody else is really going to do it for us. And while we do need others to pour into us, we also should not be in a place of dependency where we need that validation, or we always need somebody to cheer us on. Of course, we're human and we need that. Sometimes we need sometimes that appreciation on the outside, but we should not also depend on that. So, anyway, what do I want to talk about today? So, since I have a brief chance, this was not planned. I actually have a couple podcast topics planned out, but because I'm approaching my content a little bit differently, so it's more streamlined, it's more planned, it's more intentional. Because last year I was a lot very intentional. Everything was, doing things with intention, and I spoke about planning your year with intention. And this year I kind of freestyle a lot of things, and to be honest, I was not as intentional. I was not as focused, and July was like my wake up call. Right? Funny enough, while I'm traveling and while I'm balancing running a business, having the kids on vacation, taking them around New York City to see the sights, um, it also was a very reflective time, July. So consider this podcast episode a little bit of a chit chat from a friend to a friend, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So, Ju- me being intentional. So, I have a couple of podcast episodes coming up. I kind of battled right before I clicked record if I'm going to go straight into one piece of content that I have coming up, which is the tools that I use in my business. So, one of the things I want to do is have a lot more of a robust content system. And when I say robust, I mean, how to put it? More like, I'm not a novice. I wouldn't consider myself advanced, because advanced is when you have a whole team to pump out the content, and like a Gary Vee, right? I think I'm somewhere in between where I can be like, I can handle it on my own, but I have enough systems in place where I can have help. I know exactly the tasks that go into me putting content, from the blog to the podcast to social media. Those are like the three main channels. Um, I want it to be in such a way where, but again, no pressure, because life happens, client work comes in, and it becomes very busy and hard to maintain that level of system, where it's like, okay, I have my blog. From now on, everything is hosted on the blog. I neglected my blog for years. Like, I would blog, I would put my podcast on the blog whenever I remember, whenever I feel like it. It wasn't one of those tasks that was scheduled in, and I have now made my blog my first priority in my content creation. I need to practice what I preach. I gave Instagram too much of a priority. Before Instagram, I gave Facebook too much of a priority with my live videos, which is fine. But at the end of the day, everything must be hosted on your website. That's the whole point of having a website. That is where everything lives, where people can learn about you, your about page, your services. Like, that will be on social media. But as I always preach, social media is not the best way to communicate in a cohesive way what you do. If a stranger comes, they have to sift through Facebook, or then they have to jump to Instagram to find another piece of information, and then they have to go through the highlights section if they even feel that motivated to do that. Then they have to scroll through this feed of never-ending posts that it feels like you're scrolling. Like, nobody has time for that. But when someone is on your website, everything is there, and everything, it's like your online portfolio of who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Right? This is someone stepping into your office, and once they stop there, they should walk away knowing exactly what you're about and how they can be helped from you, and if you're the right fit for them. And then the other objective with your website is that you should be getting people on your email list, whether that's with a pop-up that says sign up to our mailing list and gain this benefit, that benefit, or opt in, where it's like you give them a free training or free ebook, something in exchange for their email address. It could be like a pop up. or it could be strategically placed on certain pages. I know some people a pop-up isn't part of their strategy, and then others it is. It really all depends on your business and how you want people to experience your website. For me, I didn't like the idea of a pop-up for my brand because it just felt too intrusive and salesy at the point in time. Now I have a pop-up because I designed it in such a way where it doesn't feel like that. And then it pops up after a couple seconds of scrolling on the page. So it's not so bad. It's all in how you do it, it's all in how it's done, and there is no right or wrong. You don't have to have a pop-up. You can just have call to actions on pages on your site that you know people will touch, giving them value. But in order to receive the value, they have to opt in with their email address. So that's a little more subtle way. It's a little more subliminal where people don't realize it, because by the time they come across this call to action, they are now like, oh yeah, I'm interested in this specific thing. They don't even realize that it's happening. All right. So that's one of my lessons that I have learned this year is I'm really giving the love to my blog first. So my blog is where it happens first. And I've come up with a system that it makes a lot more sense because I have connected my blog post to my email provider, my email list provider, which I use MailChimp, which I would like to leave MailChimp at some point, but I'm not ready for that undertaking right now. Maybe during that next period where you kind of focus on your business and you clean house, which is usually when Christmas hits, like after Christmas, when everything is quiet and it's not as busy in terms of inquiries, and January. Everybody knows that's the months that are slow, and that's the period that's slow. So that's a time and a period that I advise everyone. That's the time to focus on cleaning house, updating your website, updating your systems, etc., trying moving over to new tools or service providers. All right. Um, so that's one of the things that I've been working on, is focusing on the blog. So when I post something on the blog, it automatically sends out an update to my list of a new post. And what I like about it is that as long as I'm nurturing my blog, as long as I'm putting out free value, well, not free value, that's not what I want to say, valuable information via my blog, that means my subscribers are going to get it, those who are signed up to my list. And I am delivering on my brand promise that you signed up to this list to get free tips, this. Right? So you're getting that. Before, I was giving myself double the work because I would record this podcast. Well, actually, podcast doesn't apply. Or does it? How have I set up my podcast? I'm trying to remember. Okay, so I've set up my podcast where anybody who has subscribed to Facebook Messenger update, once I click publish on Anchor, which is the platform that I use for hosting my podcast, it automatically sends out a message on Facebook. But that wasn't happening. That wasn't happening on my email list, but then I did it for my email list. But now I'm doing it. I hope you all are following me and this makes sense. So that when I click publish, it goes out on Messenger and it goes out to my email list. Then on my blog, I would publish a blog and just do a bunch of manual work, which is post it on Instagram, post it on Facebook, and basically run around the place like a mad woman. Like a mad woman trying to push this post out there. Now, granted, when I click publish on my blog, it automatically posts to Facebook once I have selected the option before I click publish. It automatically publishes to Pinterest and to Twitter. I don't really focus on Twitter, but it's connected. So I let the post go out there and let it go out there into the stratosphere. All right. Because it's just a click. Right. So that's what happens with my blog. But now I've set things up that everything starts primarily from the blog, my blog page on my website. So everything is hosted there. Now, if I click publish on this episode, which I need to click publish on this episode first, yes, it will still go out. But moving forward, I'm practicing to always take this podcast episode, embed it into a blog post, and publish that so that it goes out on my email list and everywhere else that I have my blog connected to. So it will go out on Facebook, it will go out on Twitter, and in brackets it says podcast, so you know what to expect when you click. You'll know it's an audio to listen to, and if it doesn't say podcast, then it's something written, or it might say tutorial, so you know it's a tutorial for Squarespace or any other tool that I teach on. All right, so that is what I have been up to during the month of July, and I actually feel a lot less stressed when it comes to content, because when I focus on one specific main thing, I not just but naturally you feel a sense of accomplishment. And that sense of accomplishment turns into motivation and momentum. Then you feel accomplished, like, oh, okay, I got that done. What's next? What next can I do? And you keep building and building and building rather than feeling like you're not getting anywhere and you're in quicksand and you're drowning. And the more that you fight in quicksand, the more you start to drown. Well, the more you sink, right? So that is absolute madness. And I'm sharing my lessons with you, where the things and the shit that hasn't been working and what I've done about it. So I hope you're getting value in this podcast. If you are, as usual, please give me a shout on social media. My jam is Instagram stories. It's easy to screenshot and upload. Tag me, regardless of where you're sharing it. And bonus, what's your lessons thus far listening to this episode? Now, one of the things I wanted to make mention to in this podcast episode is that I'm on vacation, yes, but I'm not on vacation. And let me clarify what that means. The whole point of running an online business is the freedom and flexibility to work with anybody, anywhere in the world, as well as work from anywhere in the world. So it's business as usual, but same way, what really is driving my hours is the fact that school is closed for my kids. So whether I am in Trinidad or any other part of the world, as long as it's vacation time and my kids are with me, that is what is true, really and truly throwing off my schedule. The kids. Being in Trinidad with the kids would still be a struggle, because my hours turn completely upside down. It's impossible to work during the day. And I usually have to work like at night and kind of sleep during the day. So, yes, while the kids are up during the day. So, when I say sleep, it's like this is a weird mommy thing, and moms might be the ones who can relate, where I'm on the couch getting rest, but I can still hear what they're doing, and I'm resting but monitoring them at the same time. It's not the most healthy thing to do, but you do what you have to do. And I'm honestly really enjoying being back in New York with my mom, my sister, my brother, my dad. Like, the whole shebang is here. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why I'm not here more. But the fact of the matter is, this is where my family is, and I'm able to not have to carry it all on my own. And I have greater support here in terms of hands, in terms of monitoring them and supervising them. It's just that my challenge comes when I need quiet space to get shit done. All right. So that is what my challenge has been for July. I had plans to go to New Jersey where I was gonna just leave for a couple days, use my godmom's apartment because she's not there. She works. Yeah, she doesn't really be around. So I have like the place to myself. So that hasn't worked out as planned yet. So that's why I had to actually postpone a couple of things, including the podcast episode. And weirdly enough, while I know because I've been here so many times in terms of beating myself up or things not going according to plan, so I easily get triggered in terms of getting depressed or feeling like things aren't working out. I already knew I know my mess, right? I know my mess. Whereas like, okay, Cassia, you know how you are. So let's not go there. And I just decided, okay, what else can I work on in my business? It's not the end of the world if I don't get it done. Things can be postponed, things can be done in September, it can be done in October. Like there is no hard and fast rule that it needs to happen today. There's no hard and fast rule that it needs to happen this month. But actually you can empower yourself, and I'm seeing this as my lesson to myself. I can empower myself by deciding, okay, this is not working right now, I'm going to do this in October, and now I can plan for October. And if things work out where I can still do certain recordings, now I'm actually ahead of the game and I'm actually prepared now for October. So putting things off doesn't mean procrastinate. Let me say that again. That's my lesson. Putting things off does not mean procrastinate. It means being better prepared for a later date. So as long as if you postpone something, as long as you continue to work on that thing by putting a plan in place, mapping out, okay, as soon as I get that pocket of days or hours or weeks to work on that thing that I'm postponing, and I have a plan for each day, okay, Monday I'm going to do this, Tuesday I'm going to do that, Wednesday, and you have a plan for that pocket of time when it comes to do it, then when that time comes, you are prepared, you have a plan of action, and you can hit the ground running. So these are my lessons after being in business full time and having my own challenges over the years. I think that's how I feel like I'm effortlessly dealing with the delays. But meanwhile, I know there are others who don't know how, and this is why I decided to share what my challenges of July are. And here's to declaring that August is gonna be the complete, I won't say complete opposite because July wasn't bad. It's just it had challenges. But here's to an August with intention. Here's to the rest of the year with intention. And I'm back and focused because I was able to reflect on how I've lost focus in my business and how I am refocusing. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, give me a shout. Let me know how this has impacted you in any way, what lessons resonated with you. Sometimes some lessons aren't anything that you've learned new, but reminders. So let me know what resonated. Give me a shout on the gram, and I'll be back with another episode as soon as time and space allows. I'm not making any promises, but that's why I've been working on the blog, because it allows me to still pump out content in a written way so that you still get value. And I can always come back at a later date and record it in a podcast episode format, because it's a lot more conversational and it allows me to just go deeper and broader into things. Not that I can't do that with words, but you know. So yeah, that's one of the things I actually was trying to get at, is that on my blog I want to have like a written version, audio version, and then even come on live or Instagram stories and chat about this topic in depth and have more conversation around the things that um, form part of my content. All right. So hope you guys enjoy this episode again, and I'll talk to you guys again soon with the next episode. Hey, did you enjoy today's podcast? Then do me a huge favor and spread the word about this podcast. All right, just screenshot, upload to your Instagram stories, and tag me so that I know that you did it because your support matters. We need to spread the word about the podcast because if you enjoyed this podcast or it helped you in any way, we need to help others, and I would love to get the word out and have it help someone else too. When you share this podcast, it allows the podcast to grow and it allows me to continue creating more content just like this for you. So, screenshot, share to your stories, and tag me. It will mean so much to me.